Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
History remembers moments of extraordinary strength, skill, and determination. True greatness is forged by those who fulfill their destiny.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Past the Wire TV, Saratoga today. Before Dawn and I get into the Alabama card, which we will do in a moment, last week on Unfiltered on Past the Wire TV, Michael Wilson and I did what I would call a deep dive on layoffs. Interesting show, what to look for, what to stay away from. Are they good? Are they bad? What do they mean? Is it always the same? And before we get into today's show and the Alabama card, we're going to hear a little bit from Safi Joseph on layoffs, straight from the backstretch at Saratoga. So hope you enjoy this little intro, and Dawn and I will be back with the Alabama card in just a minute.
It's horse for horse. I think you got to take it like individual for individual. Some horses, when they're in good form, you kind of see when their form tells you they're tailing off, and that's probably most of the times to give them a break. And sometimes it works against you, like fillies especially. You give them breaks, you send them to the farm, and they come back in worse form than they left. So there's no set thing for each horse. I mean, you just have to go individual to individual horse as far as when they need time, they'll tell you they need time. Some horses it's going to help tremendously. Some horses you send them to the farm and they come back a different horse. So as I said, it works both ways. Some come back, strive on it. Some don't do as strive on it. Whether you give them a break at a track or the farm, you do need to back off of them sometimes and space them out. Whether it be complete break on the farm or just complete break from running. As far as keeping them in light training and just giving them 3 months in light. As far as light training, it varies horse to horse. I said. Every puzzle doesn't fit every horse. Here they kind of stay in more routine to stay with the same person they've always been with as far as groom handler. So they kind of stay in, I would say, I like to say they stay in tip-top shape. When the farm go to bed, some of them will let down. We've had sent fillies to the farm that we thought the break would do them a world of good, and then, as I said, they come back and they didn't run a lick. So it varies. I think the geldings definitely turn out in paddocks and stuff like that helps them a lot. Even some of the colts, you got to be very careful about how big of a paddock you put them out, because you never know what kind of running they're going to do in the farm. You want them not to hurt themselves in that aspect.
Okay, Dawn and I are back. Saratoga today, Alabama Saturday. One of my favorite days of the Saratoga race meet for sure. I love the Alabama Stakes, have for a long, long time. On the website, I think under my bio, I think I talk about one of the very first big bets I ever made when I thought this was an easy game was on a filly named It's in the Air, who was coming, I believe, if memory serves me correct, was coming out of sprint races and stretching out in the Alabama. And when I read the form, now this is going back, I don't know, 70s. I read the form. We were staying at a motel, my mom and dad and I up there for the meet. My dad was working. And I was like, wow, this horse is going to go wire to wire. There's no way anybody can run this horse. And there was a champion in the race, Devona Dale, that was the headline of the racing form. Everybody loved her. Calumet Farm horse for John Beach. I think she had won the Philly Triple Crown, or back then that they used to call it that, the Acorn, the Mother Goose, and the Coaching Club. But I loved It's in the Air. Las Barrera, Harborview Farm, I think, with Jeffrey Fell. And I remember going to the racetrack, and I didn't feel like I had enough money to bet, and I borrowed money from everybody that I knew, and wound up like borrowing like just over like $1,000, I think, like $1,100 or $1,200, and I bet it all right on It's in the Air, and she won, and I paid everybody back with a little bit extra, and I said, wow, this is just such an easy game. Little did I know that I would come to learn it was the complete opposite of that. But I always loved the Alabama, and I always remembered how easy it was for me to spot It's in the Air and how it went exactly how I thought it would. And the way this meet's been going, that might be my last winner back in the 70s. So hopefully,
Not even close.
hopefully we can turn that around. How are you?
I'm good. Everything is good. Beautiful sunshiny day. It's a busy weekend up here north of the border.
Right.
Queen's Plate's on
Okay.
Sunday. So I'm going to be actually doing that with America's Best Racing. So
That's great.
yeah, 2-hour show. That'll be fun. And my old stomping grounds back in Alberta, they're having their Canadian Derby on Saturday. So
Wow,
for the
okay.
3-year-old colts going 1.25 miles. Yeah, so lots going on up here.
Yeah,
Robertino
no.
Diodoro, who I knew back in the day because he was from Edmonton. And
Okay.
I remember him when he was just a young pup, just getting started and
Really?
working
Okay.
at the track. Yeah, doing some work on the gate crew, doing lots of different stuff. He's got 2 horses in the race and they both look like they'll be tough. So looking forward to that too.
I never knew he was from Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I
I've
never
known
knew that.
Robertino for a long time, a lot of
Okay.
years. Yeah.
Now I have to ask you this, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I have to ask you because it's the Queen's Plate and it is Canadian version of the Kentucky Derby, if nothing else. Any opinion?
I do, yeah. Well, I kind of had to because I actually have my sheets here. Yeah, because I am doing the
Okay.
show. So I wrote an article for America's Best Racing on the Canadian Stakes, which is
Okay.
happening Sunday too. It's a great card at Woodbine on Sunday. There's a filly in the field for the Queen's Plate, and fillies.
And they've won it
notoriously-
before. How come,
they
you know,
do well. Yeah.
Phillies win the Queen's Plate a lot more than they win the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. Is it like the 5 pounds they get off? I don't know, but they do perform well in the Queen's Plate and should be no exception this year, I don't think. Moira is her name, and trainer Kevin Attard, who's from the Attard family, which
Right.
good Maltese family, and they have been sort of mainstays in Canadian racing for a long time. But Rafael Hernandez, who he of course rides in the States. He's been riding here full time since I think 2016 or 17. But he had a choice between the 2 top horses, Moira the filly or Ron Dewar, and he actually chose Moira the filly. He said she could be along the same lines as Dance Smartly, who I don't know if you remember that name, but
course I
definitely
remember her, yeah.
queen of race,
Yeah,
thoroughbred
Samson
racing,
Farms,
Samson
right?
Farms.
And
Absolutely.
Gary Boulanger, I think, rode her in the Queen's Plate, didn't he?
Yeah, Gary's still riding too. What a great guy Gary is. Yeah, his
gotta
son
give
was
him
actually
credit.
up here riding. Yeah.
Right. I knew his son rode for a while, and I was actually at Gulfstream the day that he had that horrible accident.
That was
and
one of the worst. Yeah.
they thought he might not survive, let alone ever ride again. So it just goes to talk about not only the athleticism that these riders have, but there's a level of fearlessness there too. You know what I mean? To go down like that, and then get back and do the same thing that you've been doing, knowing it's the kind of thing where, it's out of your control if an accident's going to happen. You know what I mean? A horse can take a bad step, someone else can try. I mean, anything can happen to cause that same type of accident. You know what I mean? So to be able to get back on there and go between horses and dig and ride really shows a level of determination and fearlessness that I think is to be admired, and just shows what great athletes these guys really are. So
yeah,
I agree. Gary is, if nothing else, a tough guy. And I remember when he was actually, not long after I moved to Florida, which I think was like 1990, he was kind of like the king of Calder at that time. And he had come to South Florida, and he was like just the dominant rider. Which was very rare because it was a primarily Latin riding colony and community at Calder. And he was, clean cut, all American looking. I don't even know if he's American, he might be Canadian. So I'll say
he's American. Yeah.
Okay, all North American looking clean cut guy, because that would cover both. And he just dominated. I mean, he just like stepped right in and was a dominant rider. And I do remember he did ride Dance Dan Smartly
And
did.
Smartly, yeah, Boo's a great guy. So that's what I like in the Queen's play. I'm going to go with the filly Moira because Hernandez talked so highly of her. And Flavien Prat is actually going to pick up the ride on the one that Raphael didn't take, Ron Dour. So yeah, they both look pretty well meant. And actually, Cassie's always got horses in here, but he's got a horse named Sir for Sure. And I was on the ABR broadcast when we did the plate trial, and I see this beast come into the paddock. I'm like, who is this thing? And it's Sir for Sure, and he looked amazing. I actually live toted him, and he ended up winning at 21-1. So that was okay.
Wow.
We'll take those,
Okay,
but I don't
yeah,
mind him
yeah.
either. He'll run all day long, that horse. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's always a great card. You know, there are a couple of days at Woodbine that they really do have every year. There's about 3 or 4 days that they really do put on, you know, a heck of a card, and I enjoy those days at Woodbine quite a bit, and Sunday will be one of them. They have the 20-cent pick 4 or pick 5.
Yeah, everything. Those things are all like 20-cent denominations.
Yeah,
which,
that's a little troublesome to me. But
yeah, I'm not a fan. I have to admit, I'm not a fan. I think even 50 cents, not a huge fan. But 20 is like, now you've gone too far.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know why they did that, but I'd rather it be $2 minimum, but that's just me.
Oh, there's a carryover too today. So we're obviously the show's going to be on Friday. So there's a Saratoga pick 6 carryover heading into today.
There is, and we've already had one show where we discussed, hey, if it carries over here into Saturday,
Ooh, that would be fun.
So, and it did that day. So you never know. It could happen again.
It could. There's one horse I like today. If anybody's watching this early, it's in the 7th race, the 6-horse Tuscan Queen. I think she's 5-1 morning line, but yeah, that might be a good horse to throw on the pick 6 if you're playing.
Absolutely, and always good to throw out a little opinion on a day other big Saturday. One thing I noticed about Saturday's card, they've got 3 stakes, and at least we don't have any of those 4 or 5 horse fields. We got more than that. So that was a little encouraging just to start with. So I was like, okay, as soon as I opened up the PPs, I was like, that's one positive. You know what I mean? We don't have 3 horses in the Alabama.
Oh, yeah, God forbid.
And Ness was the kind of horse that I wouldn't have been surprised if a lot of people ducked, and they didn't. So that's good.
Yes. Yeah, she was so impressive last time. I don't know if this is just going to be a celebration parade for her in the Alabama, or if somebody's gonna run at her. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Well, we could start by talking about the Alabama a little bit. I thought, I thought last time she really took a step towards showing that she was, the dominant 3-year-old filly, at least of the ones that have been running in the stake races, and unless there's somebody out there that, hasn't really emerged yet.
Yeah.
But she showed last time that, she doesn't have to come from off the pace. She showed a lot more speed than she had in the past, and she just really, really dominated. I don't know. I mean, Secret Oath obviously didn't get scared and is coming back for more, but that's kind of not untypical of Wayne Lucas. So I don't think that you can read into that and say, what, he thinks he's got a legitimate excuse or might beat her this time. I didn't think, I didn't see enough from Secret Oath to think that she's going to turn the tables on her. I thought if she did go down, there were really only 2 horses that I looked at. I thought the other Pletcher horse, who's 20-1, Goddess of Fire, puts blinkers on, is kind of improving, is a little bit sneaky, looks like she should like, the 1.25 miles.
Mm-hmm.
She does like Saratoga. I think that's an important angle. And, we've seen it so many times. The guy's other horse wins, whether it's, Baffert, Chad, Pletcher, all these guys. And to me, that 11th by 11 and a half in the Kentucky Oaks, it's just a throw out on that wet fast track. She just didn't run her race that day for whatever reason. I don't know the reason, but she came back and ran well in the restricted stake. At that funny 1 mile distance, she broke from the rail that day, and I don't know. I think she can go forward off the second, second off the layoff and maybe throw an upset. And I can't knock the way Gerrymander ran last time.
Hmm.
I mean,
Those are the two I like.
yeah, she ran a huge race. She's another one who's 1-for-1 at Saratoga. She had an excuse that was, pretty well documented, and a pretty rough trip in the return race at Churchill Downs, which I didn't think so then, but I think now that's a little bit shorter than she wanted to go.
Hmm.
And she came out of that race and really ran huge. And I bet her in the Mother Goose. I liked her a lot that day, and she ran huge. And those are the two. I think if Nest takes a misstep, or if anybody is liable to jump forward, I think it would be one of them before it would be Secret Oath.
Yeah, you and I are seeing it the same. I think it's just Nest's party to win. The way she's training since that race, the way she looks, everything just suggests that she's not even done yet. She's going to continue to move forward, which is scary for everyone else because they haven't even caught up with what she was. So I'm leaving Secret Oath right out. I was very disappointed with how she looked and how she ran last time. I just didn't think she was even remotely close to the filly we had been seeing before. So maybe she's been a little bit revealed. Maybe she's just tired. We did talk about it last time when they ran, that it was something different, is that D. Wayne was finally giving her a little time between starts, which he hadn't done before. And I'm starting to think maybe that wasn't a good thing. Now he's saying that she wasn't trained up enough for it. She was a little short. The track, we know the dirt track's been tiring. So that is a possibility. I'm not so sure. I like Gerrymander and Goddess of Fire, and those are the two exactas I would look at, see what they're paying, and if they're worthwhile, maybe jump in.
Yeah, we're exactly on the same page. Exactly. So that's a good thing. One observation I've made about the meet, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little premature with it. Let me know what you think. But I think over the past, I don't want to say a week, but over the past couple of racing days, I think, my opinion, the track might be a little less tiring, a little less heavy, and playing a little differently than it was early in the meet. I think it's kind of leveling out and getting a little faster and a little easier to get over, and really changing, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, well, as soon as Todd Pletcher called them out, he didn't call them out, but as soon as he made mention of it, when you have a trainer of his status saying something publicly that he thinks the inside part of the track is deeper and it's more tiring, he had horses working in sets, and the horse on the outside was always going by the one on the inside. So for him to say something publicly, you knew the track crew was going to do something, going to try to rectify that situation. So as soon as he said that, I thought to myself, okay, we'll watch this closely, because if this suddenly turns into an inside favoring bias, we need to know, before everyone else does. But I agree with you. I think it's probably playing a little bit more. It's playing to speed much more now than it was early in the meet.
Yeah, that's what kind of brought my attention to it. I'm like, what? Speed seems to be doing a little bit better, and I just started watching. I'm like, it doesn't look as laboring and tiring as it did. But yeah, probably him saying something had something to do with them getting out there and saying, hey, we gotta level this track out a little bit and work on it. And I'm glad they did, because I think it makes it more fair. So that's always a plus. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horses in 5 different races that I'll mention as horses that I'm looking at. So
okay,
one that I like significantly more than the others, with a close runner-up, but a couple caught my eye. The first is in the 4th race, and this is probably the one that I like the least. So maybe that means the way my meet's been going, it has the best chance of winning. But that remains to be seen. But in the 4th, I was looking at the 6 horse, Ard Macha. Well, okay. Well, what does that look mean?
Oh, it was that a look. You know what? I actually, so I do the notes, and I watched the replay, and I was trying to find a reason to like that horse too. And I just think there was just no excuse last time. But what did you see? Because maybe I missed something and I should watch the replay again.
No, I don't think you should watch the replay again, because the replay won't show you what I saw, because I watched it myself. I like her, and I've had this dilemma before in a couple of races that we've discussed over the meet, is because against everybody else who seems to have a chance. So I land on her. I just don't like anybody else. And I think that, you know, third start, maybe she's learning the game, maybe she's coming around. She's cutting back to 5.5. Maybe that'll help stamina wise, because she certainly didn't look like she wanted to go further last time. I've noticed over the years that, you know, Jorge Abreu does sometimes take a couple to get a horse going and get to their peak. Jockey switch from Johnny to Pratt. Pratt may be a little bit more patient, take her back a little bit. Johnny was trying to keep her in the game early. That might not be what she wants to do. So that's not stuff that we're going to see on the replay, because I agree on the replay and on the PPs alone, she might be a little tough to get to, but I just don't like anybody else in here. And when I did the race, she was the angle horse for me that I came up with.
Yes, you know, sometimes it's process of elimination. If you're tired of the dances the other ones have been taking you to, you find a new partner, right? I'm a little troubled, just a little bit. I mean, I can see, because it is third start for a young filly. They can sometimes really blossom. It's her first attempt at Saratoga. The workout pattern since her last race concerns me just a touch. She ran at the end of June, and since then she managed to put together one workout in July and then subsequently one in August. So it seems a little bit too well spaced for me, but who knows, maybe he's been working her somewhere else and it just hasn't been getting clocked.
The August 13th work was actually better than any of her other works. If you go back to watch her work, she actually looked better in that work than she had ever looked before. And I took that as a positive, that maybe she just is getting better. But you know, like I said, of the ones I liked, she was the one that I liked the least, and it was probably because of, you know, just the whole process of elimination thing. Yeah.
I actually came out from that same race, the Road to Remember, who draws the rail in Saturday's race. She ran game. I mean, she ran past Ardmacha, like she was standing still, battled her, and then finished well ahead of her. And she had post 12 of 12. So she wasn't exactly, you know, in the right spot to be successful. I thought she ran well out of there. I was kind of looking at the 5-horse Shinful. Her speed, I think, will help her in there, and a little bit of the 4-horse Royal Currency. She has no turf pedigree, but Rosario suddenly shows up there. So I was kind of interested in that. But yeah, I'd say it's a tough race.
I looked at all of them. The only other one that I really considered, believe it or not, was a horse that's going to be probably the longest shot on the board, and that was the 8 Palm Sauvage.
Yeah.
For no other reason than she's got some speed. They tried to run her on the turf. She's coming at it two open company races, and you know, Speightster, Speightstown, Maisel Trick, those horses run on anything. They really do. So, you know, 2 open company races, and the fact that they tried to run her on the grass at Tampa in open company first time out. I don't know who Mark Gorey is, but he owns a horse with Elizabeth Gorey. He's 0 for 4 on the year, and here he comes to Saratoga with you know, a filly that's going to be, you know, maybe 30 to 1 in an 8-horse field. So if that's the other one that I was looking at, to tell you the truth, because like I said, I just don't like any of the others. The one on the rail who you like absolutely ran better than the 6 last time, but to me, there's no improvement looking there, where the 6 I can at least hope improves. I tried to like the 5. I originally thought I was going to like the 5 Shinful. Coming out of a stake, I love. Back against straight maidens, it's an angle I look to bet on. You know, she goes back on Lasix. She's got a lot of positives. IRAD, I guess that's the third one that I would throw in, but I really couldn't get to her either, to tell you the truth. And I think there's a lot of speed in here. So I just thought the 6, maybe with a more patient type of ride from Pratt, might be able to wake up, but we'll see.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's one of those races.
Yeah. In the 5th race, I thought the 6, who's, you know, certainly not going to be any much of a price. She was 9 to 5 first time. He was 9 to 5 first time out, but I mean, that horse was supposed to run big first time out of the box, and just was completely destroyed going into the first turn, and eliminated, and you know, wrap up and save for another day, which is Saturday. So I tend to think we'll see what we were supposed to see first time out, second time out with that experience under the belt. So I had a hard time getting past the 6, who I expect to go off as the favorite.
Yeah, I agree. I did manage to kind of step away from him just a little bit because I like Cox's horse in there, the 1-horse coach Petro. Brad Cox with second time starters. If you want an angle that just pays all the time, ignore his first time starters. It's not like they don't win. They win at a 20% clip, but on turf, so he hits 29%. The ROI is 231 with second time starters. With 2-year-olds, second time starters on turf, he's 36%, and the ROI jumps to 278. So I just think that horse has some talent. I didn't think the debut was obviously horrible. I mean, he ran extremely well in there. He was meant to run well. He was bet down 2-1. There was a lot
he
to
got
like
money.
out there.
He was the one getting the money right into the other horse. You know, he got bet
Exactly.
right into the other horse.
Yeah. So I was interested. Yeah. I mean, they exit the same race. Obviously, he had things a lot easier than activist investing did. Those two to me are the ones. And I would take a peek at number 2, Conversing, as well, because I really like that turf pedigree on Conversing. This thing's meant to run on grass. The dam was extremely turfy. You know, she had a 96 buyer on turf and ran in, she won the La Prevoyante at Gulfstream, a grade 3. So yeah, there's
right. I remember her. I couldn't remember what race she won, but I remember I was there and seeing her win. So I just couldn't. I didn't look it up, and I couldn't remember which race it was that she had won. Next race that I looked at, and this was a race I looked at Brad Cox horse, where he's going to have to beat a legitimate heavy favorite in Best Idea, who's going to probably be 4 to 5. But
yeah.
I thought Whittington Park had a puncher's chance in there. Second off the layoff, ran good in both starts at 2 at Saratoga. Gets a mile, stretching out. Looks like he will like the mile. Irad, takes the call. So I think if I'm looking for an alternative to Best Idea, who, like I said, is going to be 4 to 5, maybe 3 to 5, I would use Brad's horse to maybe step up and run a big race on the stretch out. Also getting Lasix for the first time. Yeah,
it's one of those. I mean, there's a lot of speed in that race, right? So right away we look and see, is it going to be a meltdown, or is somebody just going to walk away with it? I thought the 1-horse Rudy's horse, Win for Gold, was adding. So he's adding blinkers. He got hit at the break last time. So there's a horse with speed right on the inside. I don't like him because Rudy's just. Poor Rudy. It's just not going well for Rudy.
He got his 1 win at least.
I know, yeah, at least, but still, it almost doesn't that look better. He's 1 for 55 now. So, but a few seconds and thirds. I mean, he's hitting the board. Dr. Blute, I figured, was going to be up against it a little bit because he's more than likely going to have a wide trip. We'll see if he can, Jose Ortiz, who's a little bit cold right now too, if he can work some kind of a trip out. He tends to like to come from off of the pace anyways. The other time he rode Dr. Blue, he was sitting back, so maybe he saves ground. But I like Whittington Park too. That was the other one I came up with to play in exactas with Best Idea if I go that way, if it's paying. And the 6-horse Dangerous Edge, I was somewhat interested in. He's just one of these hard knocking old geldings who pops up from time to time.
One thing I've noticed about those 1 mile shoot races is that the times have been very, very slow, assuming they're accurate. But if you look at the splits of those races, I guess they're really slow. I mean, the first quarter and a half, I guess because of that turn or whatever, but those times of those 1 miles are really, really, really slow. So, and I had heard talk that, it was a lot of, breeding people that were instrumental in pressuring Saratoga to add the 1 mile race because they wanted some 1 mile races. And, they also like fast time. So I don't imagine that it's helping them with,
No.
miles.
It's a weird configuration.
Yes.
Yeah, because they start and they're right in the turn. So anything outside of post 6, anything outside of post 6 is like almost completely up against it right away. I don't think there's any run up either. I don't know how long the run up is. I don't think
there's no room for a run up.
Yeah, so I think
that's probably why
to the first quarter times anyways, because it seems like the second quarters are going faster than the first. But Yeah, I don't know that I mean, it's so configuration dependent. Are you seeing the best horses win? Or are you seeing the ones that draw the best post and get a little lucky win? It's probably
Yeah,
the latter.
I thought it was a mistake. I wasn't a fan of it. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't really have an opinion in the seventh race, but it was definitely one of those 2-year-old maiden special weight races at Saratoga that just have so many potential runners in them. That it's just interesting to look at. I mean, you've got, the horse on the rail, which is probably going to be over bet and probably not one of the ones that I would like, expected value, but absolutely can win. Good News Rocket, Run Happy, great lines on the bottom as well.
Mhm.
Related to some fast, good horses. Blinkers on, summoning on our courage, who ran a good second to Most Strike, who you liked opening week, that won the Sanford. Bad Flip, I guess, is eligible, a good match to go forward second time out. Echo again's got a lot of buzz around him. Another one bred, top and bottom through the gills. Shug's got to tap it. Candy Ride, and then another Into Mischief on the bottom, who's a half to art collector. So just so many, different ways to go. Did you land on anybody here, or is?
Yeah, even I completely agree with you. I actually wrote down this race is loaded with potential superstars. It just has the feeling of that kind of race. But I did stand alone in here. I do really, really like the 5-horse Echo again, the Steve Asmussen gun runner colt. The Dam won her first lifetime start. She was a Tappet, and at 5 furlongs, believe it or not, at Churchill, she sat off the pace, and Rosie Napravnik was riding her, and she was able to get the win. So she was precocious early. The thing that really keys me into this horse is Steve's trained. There's been just 2 other siblings. Both won their first starts. Steve trained both of them.
Right,
One was a gun runner.
Pyro was one, right? Pyro won.
Pneumatic, actually. There's Pneumatic and Costa Terra are the 2, and he Costa Terra was able to win, and that's a gun runner, so that was a full. The other one was an Uncle Mo, but so precocity is running in this family. They hit the ground running. I like the fact that Asmussen trained the 2 siblings and won with them. So yeah, to me, that's the one. Echo. He's going to be a low price because he is the buzz horse of the day.
Oh, I see. The Dam was a 3/4 to Pyro, who won the grade 1 Forgo, right? And Pneumatic was a horse I actually thought at one point was looking at as a long shot for the Derby, that I thought, one of those, 20 to 1 possible contenders that nobody was looking at. So yeah, no, that's probably going to be the one that gets the most attention. But there were so many in there that just looked like, could really be good. So, and kind of reminds me of Echo Zulu, same kind of thing, same kind of name. So
yeah, classic legacy. The 8-horse is a half to art collector,
right?
So there's definitely pedigree. There's that race is loaded.
Right, and the Dam is a half to Vision and Verse, who lost by a nose in the Belmont, coming up the inside to, I want to say, Lemon Drop Kid, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was Lemon Drop Kid, because at the time, I remember Jose Santos rode Lemon Drop Kid. He was married to Rita at the time, and her brother, Herberto Castillo, rode Vision and Verse for Mott, and the 2 hit the wire together. So it was kind of like a family affair, and
it's a good race.
It went Jose's way. I remember that.
That might be my favorite race on this card. It's the 7th race, just because who might come out of it.
No argument. Yeah. That's one of those maiden races at Saratoga you love to watch. Of course, my probably strongest opinion on the day. Oh no, we got one more race before that. And I'm curious to your take. No, wait a minute. No, okay, yeah. My strongest opinion on the day is actually in the 8th race on the turf, and I hate having my opinion here because always questions about the pace, and the horse that I like is gonna need some pace to run into. But I like Consumer Spending a lot. if you watch the Belmont Oaks, I'm kind of glad she skipped the Saratoga race and waited for this. But if you watch the Belmont Oaks, you know, she was on the inside, and when, you know, things started to get, you know, close to punch time, she wound up between horses in an uncomfortable spot, tried to get out, couldn't get out, wanted to get out, had run. You know, McCulloch got the clean jump on her with the moonlight, had a nice trip, stalking the pace, come out of the race, and when she finally realized, and Manny realized that she wasn't going to get out, he went to the inside, went between horses, and she was finishing as good as anybody in that race, full of run. When Brown's horses run like that, and then he skips the next big one and points for another one, they tend to really peak and run big. You know, he's deadly when he does that and spots and points and looks to peak. And I think consumer spending is sitting on a really, really big race. And if she gets the right, you know, right pace help, and nobody walks the dog or gets one of those kind of, you know, ridiculous trips that sometimes happen in these grass races, I don't think it's going to happen here. I do see some pace. You know, it's a mile and a 16th. I would really love her if it was a mile and an eighth. Why it's not, I don't know. I think it should be a mile and an eighth, but nobody really cares what I think. But it's a mile and a 16th.
I care.
Well, thank
On
you.
the inner too, right? So yeah.
Yeah, so that's
good old
that.
inner.
That's a little tougher. But if you watch the replay, it's my perfect example of watching a horse that just really couldn't get the trip the rider was trying to give her, and was really in an uncomfortable spot that compromised her chances. That doesn't show when you look at the past performances. It just says, you know, 4 wide, upper closed well. That's not reflective of her trip at all. And if you watch the replay, you'll see what I mean. And that's the kind of stuff I look for on tracking trips, and when I handicap, is, you know, stuff that, you know, might not be visible to everybody. But she didn't have a comfortable trip at all, and she was really full of run and would have been a lot closer in that race. And I like the fact that with the moonlight come out of it and won, because I think she could have beat with the moonlight that day with the right kind of trip, and maybe even won. So I like her a lot. I like the way Manny's been riding at the meet. I like the way he rides for Chad at the meet. He's actually his highest percentage rider this year, which I think is an interesting stat considering the guys that he rides. This filly's 4 for 7 lifetime. She knows how to win. She's 3 for, even though I wish it was a mile in the 16th, it shows you what I know. I wish it was a mile and an eighth. It shows you what I know, because she's 3 for 4 with a second at a mile and the 16th. So she might be saying, no, this is fine for me. You don't know what you're talking about. So that was my best play today. And I think, you know, it's a Chad horse in a race where he's got a couple.
4.
Right, so
4 in there.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think she's, you know, going to be a little bit lost in the shuffle, because that happens in these races sometimes. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That was my strongest opinion on the card, and the one that I was most afraid of, believe it or not, was another Chad horse that's coming off of just a really, really bad race in that same race, Haughty, who I thought was really going to be a nice horse, and won on that horrible course at Penn National, when you know, it was just really, really bogged down with rain. And I thought, okay, if she could win on that, she's got to run huge getting back on a firm turf course. And she just didn't fire that day at all.
No.
And Pratt sticks with the other horse. I don't know whether that was his call or not, but if he comes back in this spot, Chad, you know, I thought this filly can run. I thought she ran huge in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, as a relatively inexperienced horse. I thought she ran huge from a wide post that day. Could have actually won the race, and you know, then off the layoff won that Penn National race. And I don't know the reason for the excuse last time, but if there was one, she would be the one that I would fear.
Yeah, it's a really good race, isn't it? This is like for a bet from a betting standpoint, I think it's quite a bit more intriguing than the Alabama. So with the Moonlight, we'll need to talk about her because she'll more than likely be the morning or the favorite at post time. So she was really washy before the start of that last week. She was so keen. Like Buick is such a good rider. I admire his skills. He's
Great
ridden at
rider.
Woodbine quite a bit. He's a great guy. I've interviewed him before. He's wonderful, and he can really settle these horses down. He had his hands full because she was not being super cooperative. It's not like it was something really visible, but you could tell she was really keen, and did finally relax with him a little bit. I found the switch to Saez interesting. Now I know the Godolphin Saez connection, and we all know that. But I just found it interesting. I don't know. I'm not sure what to say. I mean, I think he's obviously Saez a great rider, but with a filly like this, I don't know if it's going to be a good thing. We'll have to see. He may just let her go, and not even
He
try
may
to fight
just
her
let her
because
go.
he may.
He likes to do that, and I
He
think
does.
he becomes very dangerous. But I see some other pace in here. I mean, just even look
Sail
at
by his
right, a
pace.
two-match
Yeah,
pace, So I'm hoping that she gets caught up in a little tussle and
it could
helps
happen.
and helps set it up for the filly that I like. And I've
I
got a
like
couple of
her.
other questions about With the Moonlight.
Hmm.
Okay. One, I don't know, and I wish I did know whether she stayed at Saratoga or went back home in between races, because Godolphin will do that. They'll come back and forth on short notice. And then they and Coolmore ship like really it's no big deal at all the way they treat
Mm.
on a plane. They do fly first class. They don't ship FedEx in containers like some people do, which I'm dead set against, but some people actually do that. She's coming back kind of quick.
Hmm.
I mean, July 9th, August 7th, okay, I could deal with that. But now coming back from August 7th on when she was washy on the racetrack and won despite it because, Buick did a masterful job. Now she's coming back right quick again in the heat.
True.
I think that makes her a vulnerable short price if she's as short a price as I'm hoping she is, and if she went back, to England and now back here now, which is, I don't know the answer, but then that's another drain,
Yeah. No, I hope they didn't do
as
that.
good as they ship, it's still
Mhm.
a cross Atlantic flight. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I just don't like that scenario on a horse you've got to take a short price on when I
Yeah.
see a horse that I think could have beat her with a better trip the race before that anyway. So,
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. There's no doubt. Yeah, I like
my
consumer
horse is
spending.
coming in fresh, and
Hmm.
I
You know
think
who
maybe
else I like of the other Chad fillies? I like her, believe it or not, a little better than consumer spending, but I like consumer spending more now because I know you're going to be putting $2 on her. Is the 3-horse Eminent Victor. I thought like Eminent Victor had that stumble last time and then I mean, the
right.
last start was just a disaster and she still almost came back and won. She was the favorite that day. Everybody was expecting, she's almost undefeated. She had the third place start back in the Natama at Woodbine last fall, and she just got too far back on that day. And Pratt, that's the one, he stuck with her. So I do like Eminent Victor, but I think it's those three, the 1, the 3, and the 4. But we'll
Right.
see. With the Moonlight is potentially one of your vulnerable favorites on the card.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I mean, it's asking a lot to come back that quick. That's not, and I'm a fan of horses coming back quick usually. But like
3-year-old fillies at this
yeah, but like
level
we've
is
spoken before, you know what I mean? That, rules are made to be broken. So even though we really like I've bet horses back off, 2, 3 days rest and
Mhm.
sometimes love that angle. But in this case, looks a little quick for that particular filly for my liking. And anyway, in the 9th race, Turf Sprint, Smart and Fancy. What was your take on Miss J. McKay's trip last time out?
I don't know, but is she one of these kind of horses who just finds trouble? Is it just her? Because it's a couple in a row now. I like her. One of these days it's got to work out for her, but she's, I don't know. She had the wide trip to start before that. No, it wasn't a good trip. It was a disaster trip. It was nothing worked out well. We'll see. Irad's won with her before, and maybe she gets away a little bit better, not being so close to the inside. Maybe having the 2 hole last time wasn't the best for her. Her last win in Belmont was from post 3. I think post 6 is a better draw for her. So yeah, it was not great.
Hey, I'll tell you something. A friend of mine is a bloodstock agent, and about 3 or 4 years ago, we were talking about, you know, trips and riders and stuff like that. And I shared an interesting thing with him that's hard to really find a stat on. And I'm not a stat guy. Okay. I know we look at and talk about a lot of stats, but I'm a believer that, you know, stats, like rules, were made to be broken. And on any given Sunday, you know, doesn't matter if you're 1 for 100. If today's the day that the one wins,
Yep.
You cash. So stats don't mean all that much to me, but this is a kind of, I would say, more intangible kind of stat. Okay. And it's something that I noticed years ago, and just, you know, in my own notes, made a little bit of a study of. Okay. And Irad Ortiz, when he rides a horse that he gets beat with because of a troubled trip and rides them back, I would say, and this is what I told my friend, a bloodstock agent from Lexington, who's a very, very sharp horseman. And I brought this to his attention. I said, they probably win about 9 out of 10 times, literally. And he's like, really? I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And we never mentioned it again. And then about a year later, a horse won that Irad rode, and he texted me right away. He goes, this was, I just scored on this horse. It was all because of you. And I'm like, what? He goes, remember what you told me? He goes, I've been watching it. He goes, spot on. He goes, anytime that guy gets in trouble on a horse or gets a bad trip and rides him back, it's almost like he knows we messed up, didn't go right. He's just got World Series, Game 7, bottom of the 9th attitude, and he gets him home. And I'm like, I told you, man. You know, and this just kind of fit that profile to me, you know what I mean? Where he's going to look at the film and say, oh, I remember this. I'm going to beat all these fillies this time for sure and not get in no trouble. And she just kind of had that look. Yeah, what you said is a concern. Does she find trouble? I don't know. She's 5 for 17 with 4 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't want to call her a horse that finds trouble. She gets the job done enough. And Clement's only had her for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 starts, you know, and you know, she's got 3 wins for him already. I kind of landed there.
Yeah, no, I'm in with that. I tried to, you know, the 9-horse Caravel is obviously going to take a lot of play from the outside just because of the connection. She was a beaten favorite from her last start. I don't know that the trip's going to work out for her. She's got an outside post, and, you know, there's a chance that she's going to be compromised by that. She does switch to Saez, though, which I thought was kind of interesting that they made that change. So maybe that's some intention, what they thought of the last race, and they want her up in the game.
She was buried on the rail last time.
Yeah. There were a bunch of trips. You watch that races. Yeah, some of these horses have had real interesting trips their last 1 or 2 starts. I ended up change of control was one I thought would be a fair enough price. So for Michelle Lovell, coming off of, you know, a pretty nice win at Colonial. She probably falls through the cracks a little bit. David's got her 7-2 on the morning line. But she may drift higher than that. She was 35-1 2 starts ago in the Jaipur. I haven't been afraid to run her against the boys. She was up here at Woodbine last year, ran in the Woodbine Mile, didn't do anything. She was in the Woodbine Mile. She didn't run much. But then they put her in the Jaipur, which I thought was an interesting place. And she didn't disgrace herself. I mean, she did finish 4th.
She ran huge to field. She did. Yeah, no, absolutely.
She did. So I think there's some quality there. And I just thought she might be able to work out the right kind of trip. So I was interested in her. I like Miss J. McKay. Robin Sparkles, she likes Saratoga. I mean, you can't take that away from her. She likes the track. She seems to perk up when she gets there, and she stole the race last time. That was pure
speed in the race. Yeah, no, there was speed in the race. That cross country pick 5 paid $11,000 that day, and I was alive for some big money. Not with her. Looked at her and didn't use her, and thought the speed would go. And really, yeah, that one kind of hurt.
You must have been when the gate opened and she's like, "Oh, there we go. That's it. We're done."
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly what happened. Well, I was hoping so bad, because that was the day the cross country pick 5 included the Haskell, where Cyberknife beat everybody else, and I wound up being alive somehow. And I just thought, you know, I got to get this home, because on a small bet, I was alive for a lot of money. And I just couldn't do it. It was just typical of my August or whenever that race was. If that was still July or not, I don't
You
even know.
got sparkled.
I did, and I looked at her long and hard, and
Yeah.
my ticket. I think my ticket for 50 cents, because there was singles all over the place. Obviously, Sabre Knife wasn't one of them. I think I used Tiber and him, but whatever. But my ticket was like $15 or $20 for like 50 cents, you know, and I put it in like $10 or something just for the fun of it. And you know, my friend says to me, "Why didn't you just use everybody in that race? You used like 4 horses. You obviously didn't know who was going to win." I said, "I thought I did know who was going to win, and I
Yeah.
didn't think Robin Sparkles would be clear." You know, I looked at her and I'm like, doesn't seem the same. I'm not.
No,
I'm
I don't blame her.
around.
I didn't give her a sniff there either. I mean, but then you
I
look
think I
back, you
had the
think,
3 horses that were closing that almost got there. And the
uh,
lowest price one, of course, was the one that was second. I think that one was paying like 5,000 or
she was
6,000.
on fumes too at the end of it. Hey, and maybe that's why she likes Saratoga so much, is because she gets into those 5.5 furlong races, and that's about right now in her career. That's about where she starts running out of gas. So, yeah, that's a tough beat.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry for that. That sucks.
oh, story of my meat. I don't even mention. But you know, great minds do think alike, because the two that I was looking at, you know, I did land on Miss J. McKay, but the other one that I like was Change of Control.
Mm.
And three things jumped out at me about her. Okay. Some of what you mentioned. One is the Jaipur against boys. I think that race sticks out now that Casa Creed come back and win that other race, especially. So that race really kind of jumps off the page at me. I love the fact that CJ Hernandez sticks with this filly, and Michelle Lovell sticks with him all over the place. I mean, there's a couple of times he didn't ride her, but it looks like whenever he can get where she's going, he gets there. And they stick with him. So he knows her really, really good. She's 10 for 37. She knows how to win. So there's a lot of quality there. There's a lot of graded races there. And you know, Michelle Lovell did a phenomenal job with that 2-year-old. Obviously, came to run, got the money. She's 1 for 1 at the meet. She's hot, so you gotta like it. You know, I've got no knock on this horse at all.
No, she's cool. Can you imagine they claimed her for 50 out of her first start for $50,000 out of a maiden 50 from Chad and Klarovich. And she's
Right.
almost a millionaire. If she gets any significant piece of this day, she goes over $1 million. So that's a nice story.
Right. She's got to be one of the better claims
Ever. Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And certainly one of the better claims off Chad and Klarovich, for sure.
Yeah. A lot of
'Cause
those do not go on for
Yeah, 'cause
sure.
there's
Yeah.
not many. You know, I mean, they ran this horse for 50 first time out, obviously took a chance, and I'm sure they'd love to have her back.
I would think so. Because think of like what she worth as a broodmare now. She's made $1 million racing and some residual value too.
Yeah, no, she's you know, they're bringing her for Colonial, not certainly not without a chance. Well, we talked about the Alabama, so unless you like something in the last, which a lot of times you do.
Sometimes I do. I don't know why. I do want to make a point about the last, because there is something there. There's the 12 horse box and score.
Okay.
I think some people will be looking at him. I was in the walking ring for Woodbine because I was working with America's Best Racing for the plate trial that day. So we were doing coverage, and I see this horse come in. I'm like, wow, that one looks really good. And it was Jonathan Thomas, you know, box and score. I'm like, wow, this horse should run well. Didn't lift a hoof. Did not run a step. I don't know what was going on. He was 8-1. So it's not like he was a beaten favorite or anything, but I was so disappointed. So maybe he just didn't ship well. He didn't like the track. I've no idea, but he was horrible. So he's dropping down. Needless to say, the drop is some relief, and adding blinkers, to me, it seems like they've just had enough of them. I wasn't impressed though. I like the 7 horse Aviano out of that race. Take a chance on that one for Pletcher. Not looking at a big price there, but another one getting class relief, and the 4 horse Wicked Fast, I thought could get himself into the pace. There's number 8 horse that I do like. He won 2 starts back and now comes second off the layoff. So yeah, I always like something in the last.
Yeah, you do, which is good, because it's a good chance to bail out. And I will say this as an observatory kind of thing. Towards the latter part of the Saratoga meet, Pletcher's drop downs tend to run very well. I mean, he tends to spot them to win. He's like, okay, I'm willing to lose this one, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to lose them off a win, and let somebody else take up with them. So he's not a guy that you should look to avoid on the drop, especially in the latter part of the meet. You know, he likes to win races. He likes to be in the fight for the title and get as many wins as he can. And you know, he'll drop one to where they belong. So I kind of like that with him a lot, you know, and you know, it's been profitable over the years. So
yeah, especially the timing. His owners just unloaded their pockets at the sale, right? The Saratoga sale. So yeah, you start to look at what you're carrying still, and you say, okay, this one is what he is. Let's just move on. So yeah, he will drop those.
No, for sure, and like I said, the latter part of the meet, they tend to come through. So should be an exciting, interesting day at Saratoga on Saturday. Next week we've got the big day, the Travers.
I know, very excited. Travers weekend. It's like I'm just gonna start celebrating right now, and just be ready for the whole week. Yeah.
I usually go up for the Travers. I usually spend Travers week or 10 days around the Travers up there. I didn't go this year. You always have second thoughts when you don't go to Saratoga, especially when you've gone as many summers as I have in my life. But we're not going, so I'm not gonna cry over it. Yeah, probably next year. I may change it up though. I may go for 10 days and do it around Whitney Day, you know, include the Whitney instead of Travers. One of the reasons is, and every year I go, the same thing. The day after, and it's been like this throughout the history of Saratoga. This is not a new thing. The day after the Travers, when you go to Saratoga, that Sunday, is kind of like depressing. It's like the meet's winding down.
It's done. Yeah.
There's nobody there. Half the barns are left that morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you almost feel like, you know, and I remember, I want to say it was like 3 years ago. Okay. And I was at Saratoga the Sunday after the Travers. And I was walking around and I went to the Dunkin' Donuts coffee stand that's outside over there, at the bottom of that escalator. And there's the little bandstand over there, you know, and the band was playing kind of like a sad song, and there was nobody around, and there was 5 minutes to post the first race. So I took out my iPhone and I hit the video and I just filmed it and did like a pan, you know what I mean? And I probably still have it on my phone, and I saved it and I was like, wow, this is the Sunday after the Travers, and look at this place. Because when it wasn't like that is when it was an August meet for 24 days, and every day, including the last day, was packed. The barns shipped out that night, closing day. That's when the vans were all loaded up. When you drove out of the track closing day for that meet, you were stuck in traffic because there were horse vans everywhere.
Now, no.
Now closing day, you just, you know, you drive right out there. Nobody's left except the people that stay year round. So
what do you think of the Aqueduct fall meet this year? We missed Belmont. I like Belmont, so
I love Belmont.
Kind of sad about that.
Now I grew up, you know, Brooklyn, where I grew up in Sheepshead Bay, is not very far from Aqueduct. So I spend many days at Aqueduct. I know every crevice of that place like the back of my hand. Unfortunately, it's exactly like it was. I was there. So there haven't been many changes, but you know, I've spent so many days in the freezing cold, frozen tundra at Aqueduct when they used to race in snow, sleet. I remember when we used to have to worry about parking our cars on sheets of ice and walking in without falling. Okay. And they still raced. I mean, I can't even tell you what it took for them to cancel back then. But I don't know. I feel bad about Belmont. I'm not a fan of the reconstruction. I mean, I know it's too big, okay, and they don't get those kind of crowds. I get it, but they built that hockey arena right next to it, and now I don't know what the renovations are going to include or not include. You know, I don't know, but I'm a little bit of a traditionalist and historian, and I like the racetracks as they are. And you know, Belmont was a great venue, and I would have loved to see it stay intact, but nobody there. You know, an Aqueduct, I'm pretty sure once they're done with the Belmont renovation, Aqueduct is going to go by the wayside altogether, and there's going to be Aqueduct, which is going to be the next major venue that we lose. And that'll hit a little close to home. Calder did, because Calder was a place I moved to Florida. I went, you know, the second day after I moved to Florida, I asked somebody, how do I get to Calder? And that's, you know, where I went. And it was the week that Go and Go won the Belmont Stakes. That's how the year I moved. We could track the year I moved to Florida because I watched Go and Go win the Belmont there and had bet on him.
Isn't that funny? We tracked the year. I remember I went to school one year in France, and I was there. And the way I know how to look it up is it was the year that Winning Colors won the Derby. So yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, no, I remember it. I went to Calder. I was staying in a little apartment on the beach in Lauderdale by the sea. Asked somebody, how do I get to Calder? They told me. There was no navigation in cars or nothing like that back then. Forget about it. Nothing. I don't even think there was cell phones. No, there wasn't even cell phones in 1990. If there was, maybe those big ridiculous ones.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure there was that. And I remember going to Calder, betting the Belmont. There wasn't even really full simulcasting then. I think it was just like you bet the Belmont, you know. And I remember I liked Go and Go because I think he had run on the dirt in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile as a 2-year-old and ran well. And Dermot Weld brought him back and whatever. I came up with him. Nick Zito's horse ran second, 36 red. I wound up hitting the exacta. And I remember going to dinner at Yesterday's, which was a very popular restaurant in Fort Lauderdale at the time. And then going with my friend who lived down here to Joseph's, which was a very popular nightclub right across the street. And that was it. I think that was the year, Go and Go. And
good times.
One of my first weekends here. Yeah. And I stayed, never looked back.
Yeah, it was sad when Calder closed. Well, it's sad when all
spent a lot of days there, man. Used to go all the time, you know. Hollywood Park too, you know, and
I love Hollywood Park. Yeah,
I'm afraid Aqueduct is going to be the next, you know, major venue that goes. Arlington, of course, you know, there's been just so many that we've lost, and you know, I understand why you just still don't like to see it, you know.
Yeah, no, agreed.
But we'll be back next week. We'll probably have a lot of races to talk about because that's usually a stellar card. So we will be ready to roll. Have a great week. Enjoy the Queen's Plate. I'm sure you will do great on America's Best Racing. I will make it watch. Everybody else can watch it on America's Best Racing, covering the Queen's Plate, which is the Canadian version of the Kentucky Derby, and always a great race to watch and a great card to watch. So all the best, enjoy it, and
thank you.
Ciao for now.
Seek and Destroy is a grade 3 winner. What I particularly liked about this colt is he got a great strong shoulder, a very strong hip. And when you watch him walk, for a horse that has this weight, he's actually got a phenomenal athletic movement to him. So we're going to have him walk and kind of show you how all this physical works together with the horse himself. So typically for a yearling of this size, with this type of weight and muscle and bone, you don't see a horse that's this light on his feet and this athletic. As you watch him go by, he uses every piece of himself really efficiently. He stretches for ground with his front feet. He really pushes off with his hind feet. When you watch him turn, which is a big piece, he's actually very light on his feet as he turns. There's no sloppy movement there. He knows how to use himself. So there's a lot of athleticism with this horse. He's by Warfront, who's a very good sire training, but it's a phenomenal physical of a horse. You can't really fault him for much.
Colt here by Warfront, by the sire of 3 champions, Grade 1 winning colts such as Lines of Battle, War of Will, Omaha Beach, and Air Force Blue.
Now 25, now 15, 50, 75, 75, 75, 75, not 3, 75, 350, 75, 75, 4, 75, 4, Trey's in, 75, 4, 100, 25, 25, 425, yeah, now, I've got 400 in the back, 425, 425, 425, 425, 425, 425, 50, 425, 450, 425, anywhere, 425, 50, gotta go, 425, 50, 70, 500, 500, 475, 500. You want back in back there?
have to outspend somebody else.
I think I said, I don't like to take credit, but I think I said it best myself once when someone said to me, trust me. I said, there's only two people in the world I trust. One's me, the other one's not you. So, yeah.
All this and more on Unfiltered on Past the Wire TV.
Nobody does it better.